Salams and welcome. Thank you for joining me in another episode of the Quran in English, Basics for Beginners. A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Surah 32, verse 26 out of 30 verses of Surah Sajda, the chapter of adoration. Does it not teach them a lesson? How many generations we destroyed before them, in whose dwellings they now go to and fro? Verily, in that are signs. Do they not then listen? So this is an appeal to the people, the pagan Quraysh Meccans, and they are being reminded that on their journeys to Syria, to the north, and to Yemen in the south, and various trade journeys, they've been to Abyssinia, they've been to various other places, and they've seen the previous generations of people and their ruins. Like we know the fabulous, amazing rock carvings in Petra in Jordan and so many other people. You know, this other famous place, Al-Awla in Medina and so many other places. So these are a reminder that they were fabulous generations. They were like first world nations. But they've all returned to sand and dust. And even in today's modern times, we need to look at the fabulous pyramids. We need to look at the Aztec civilization. We need to look at the various types of ancient archaeological findings, whether it is in Britain or China or Japan or in Africa, in Brazil. And we need to try and understand what all of this means. And once we understand all of that, we'll then realize that without a shadow of a doubt, La ilaha illallah, indeed there is a Creator Supreme. And we have been created and guaranteed we will return to Him in the same way other generations have returned to Him. And the only ones who succeed are the ones with La ilaha illallah, that there is no God but Allah, and indeed there is a Supreme Creator, right? And do they not see that we do drive rain to parched soil, bare of herbage, and produce therewith crops, providing food for the cattle and themselves? Have they not the vision? Now, there's two different ways in which this particular verse has been translated into English. There are other ones, like I was just reading Ma'arif al-Quran and the tafsir by Maulana Maududi rahmatullahi alayhi, and in that case they don't use the word rain. They simply say, and do they not see that we do drive water to parched soil bare of herbage? And that was very interesting, because the tafsir that they gave is as follows, because instead of using the rain, because rain we know is coming from the clouds, but if we just simply say water to parched soil, and then the example that they gave is that, for example, say the Nile River in Egypt, it does not rain often. Egypt is one of the drought areas of the world. Yet because it rains far away in Ethiopia, and the rain comes through South Sudan and into Sudan, and now we've got the great Renaissance dam, and then from there it goes into Egypt. So even though it rains somewhere else in Africa, eventually the water comes to Egypt. And another fabulous example where it doesn't rain in a place, but the water still reaches there, is in southern Africa. You know, you've heard of this fabulous Okavango Delta. Now, the Okavango Delta is a drought-stricken area. You hardly find any clouds. And if it rains, maybe one drop will fall. It's hardly any rain. But then an amazing thing happens about 1,000 kilometers away, 3,000 kilometers away. In Angola in the north, it starts to rain. Now, Angola is more closer to the equator, and it really rains. And because the soil gets saturated very quickly, the soil cannot absorb much more water. And this flood water starts flowing southwards, millions and millions of liters. But meanwhile, in the Okavango Delta, there is drought, there is death. The elephants are about to collapse. The last of the catfish are struggling in the mud. They cannot even move. The hippopotamus cannot even move because their bodies are caked in mud. All the water holes are dry. The baboons are dead on the side. The vultures are just picking up the bones of whatever is dying. There's hardly any life. There's no birds there. Nothing. There's no sound. People are just waiting for death. and there's dust clouds all the time. And then an amazing thing happens. Imagine from another country, thousands of kilometers away, this wall of water, millions and millions of liters, billions of liters of water, comes flowing down into the Okavango Delta. And it's so amazing. You must watch some of those documentaries. When the first trickle of water touches that water hole, those fish, they get so excited because now they know this is fresh water coming. And they start jumping around. And whatever eggs that they have laid, you find within a day or 2 days or 3 days, there's millions of fish there, there's frogs there, there's tadpoles there, and then from far and wide, because the frogs and the tadpoles and the baby fish, they provide food. So you get millions of birds coming from where and where, they start building their nests, and then you start getting bees coming in because now there's flowers everywhere. The entire desert is carpeted with flower, and the bees are coming, they're collecting the pollen, and now all of a sudden the elephants are there, and the hippos are there, and the Nile crocodiles are there. It's absolutely magic. This is paradise on earth, an absolutely amazing thing. And it is God most merciful, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is showing us and proving to us that something that is dead, He can bring it back to life again. So we as human beings must never, ever, ever never doubt that you will be brought up again, because it is a guarantee. Every single human being, after you are dead, you're going to be brought back to life again. This is a guarantee. It does not matter on your religion or your race or your gender or your ethnicity, whether you're a Christian, a Muslim, a Buddhist, or a Hindu, or a Scientologist, or a New Age religion, or a pagan, or a neo-pagan, or a monotheist, pantheist, polytheist, agnostic, or an atheist. Even if you're an atheist, you will be brought back to life again. Everybody will stand in front of God. This is a guarantee. Even the Pope and the President and the kings and the princes and Mandela and Mahatma Gandhi and Mother Teresa and Martin Luther King and Michael Jackson and Elvis Presley and Princess Diana, everybody will stand in front of God. Even the atheist, Charles Darwin, will be there in front of God. Alfred Russel Wallace will be there. Professor Richard Dawkins will be there. Professor Brian Cox will be there. Alma, even our very own Peter Creel and President Ramaphosa and Gayton McKenzie and everybody will stand in front of God, and that's a guarantee. Even all our honorable members of parliament will stand in front of God, and they will have to answer God. Did they fulfill the duty for which they have been appointed to their posts, or were the people suffering while they were enriching themselves? And if any member of parliament in secret received a bribe, it will be revealed on the day of judgment. Or if any member of parliament was involved in corruption, whether it's corruption in the tender or in the potholes or in the prepaid electricity or in the supply of goods to education department or in medical equipment, anything, if you are a criminal, God knows about it. Nobody can escape the day of judgment. This is a guarantee. They say, when will this decision be? If you are telling the truth. Say, on the day of decision, no profit will it be to the unbelievers if they then believe, nor will they be granted respite. On that day, when people are seeing the reality, on that day the atheists will say, okay, now we believe. It will be too late. On that day, the members of parliament who never believed in God will say, okay, now we believe. Then it will be too late. On that day, the world leaders who invaded other lands and committed so much crime and horror and rape and torture and murder will say, okay, sorry, now we believe. Then it's too late. Your only time to understand the reality of this life is today, while you got one breath left in you. The minute you die, then it is too late. Then it's of no benefit to you than to go on your knees and to beg. Then it's too late. So those who reject faith and those who, even though they are being invited to the truth, they want to reject it, the solution is simple. So turn away from them and wait. They too are waiting. At the end of the day, we will see who has been speaking the truth. Are those who are inviting you to read the Quran, are they telling the truth? Or are the atheists correct where they're saying there's no God? Or are the criminals correct where they're saying that no, they're going to get away with crime? We will wait. Ons sal wag, but on daardie dag, die groot dag, God will show everything, who was right and who was wrong. Stay well, look after yourself, and as upliftments, remember this is the final communication from God to all of humanity. God will never send another book again. So please don't delay. Get a copy of the final Quran and it will change your life for eternity. Stay well, look after yourself. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.